Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm back with Adam Winters. I'm Joe Gould. And in our next video game turned into movie, looking at a relatively obscure, Japan only animated adventure, Ninja Gaiden. And it was released in 1991. And I guess we can say the official title is Ninja Ryukenden, or Legend of the Ninja Dragon Sword.
Ryu was the name of his father. No, Ken was the name of his father. Ryu is our hero.
Yes. Who, as we mentioned on the Street Fighter episode, will probably be called Ryu multiple times during this episode.
Hey, at least you got Gaiden right, as opposed to Gaiden, right?
I don't know what I said growing up. And I don't know what I think of this movie. I wish I had read a wiki on the old NES video games first to get like a little refresher of general plot. And I didn't do that.
Oh, you want me to indulge you?
If you want to. I mean, I've got the info now, but yeah, go for it.
Oh, well. So what is your personal history with the Ninja Gaiden game franchise? Mine is not that long, but I really do like it.
I played 1 and 2 pretty extensively. I don't think I played 3 very much. I think it was harder to find, so I probably rented it a few times. But I owned 1 and 2. I was never very good at them, I should say. The Unlimited Continues was helpful. But no, I enjoyed the game, was never all that great at the game.
You're not like Jimmy. You could beat the whole thing in one without taking a hit from the wizard.
No. What was your background with it?
Strangely, I don't have a lot of memories of it as a kid. I'd heard about it since then. People held it in high regard. And I don't think I ever played it until maybe around 2010. I think I picked up a real cheap loose cartridge of the first one, and not long after I picked up the second one.
Wow.
I
I'm
was
shocked.
into it, though. I just, it was my kind of game, even with how crazy difficult. And I'll tell you what makes the first game really difficult. The enemy spawning code when they're at the very edges of the screen, and just how they will always pop back in even if you think you've defeated an enemy. That makes it real hard to get past a few certain stages.
I will say my big complaint about the game growing up, and maybe it's why I didn't take the time to truly master it, was the cheap deaths via jumping. Landing in holes.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that. So, the music is top tier, and whatever year the first game released, I'm pretty sure it was far and away the most ambitious story-wise NES game that existed up to that point. I refreshed myself on the Ninja Gaiden 2 cutscenes. There are 30 minutes worth of cutscenes in that game. They reuse a whole lot of the same images over and over again, but still, that's ambitious for an 8-bit Nintendo game.
No, it is. And that's, I think, largely what people do remember, even if whether they enjoyed the game or not, they do remember the cutscenes, which really looked like a widescreen movie, and it was very well done for NES standards. So the first game was released in the US in March of '89, set in '88 in what Wikipedia calls a retro-futuristic version of the year. I don't know what retro-futuristic is supposed to mean, but
yeah.
But the ninja Ryu Hayabusa, however you say that, finds a letter from his recently missing father, Ken. Tells him he needs to go to America and meet with an archaeologist, Dr. Smith. There he learns about 2 statues hidden by his father and the doctor. But these 2 little statues can end the world if united. And that's where he goes off to look for those things. And he ultimately ends up battling, Jaquio, Jaquuio, who's a cult leader wanting to revive an ancient demon.
I always thought it was Jaquio, but I'm not sure.
Maybe it is Jaquio. Yeah, no audio in the NES. And again, the game was famous for introducing a bunch of the series staples, such as those cinematic cutscenes, the boomerang shurikens, and magical techniques called ninja arts, which I don't know if I called them ninja arts when I was playing it. I can't recall what the manual said on that. I think I did have the manual.
Ninja power.
Yeah. And then Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos, was the sequel. And then we get a new villain, Ashtar, who is Emperor of Chaos and Master to Jaqueo. And Ryu must rescue Irene Liu, a former CIA agent.
She was in the first game. She shot him in the first game.
Yes. Yeah. And then he also must destroy the Dark Sword, which was forged from a bone of a demon. And there's a dragon sword from the fang of a dragon.
Yeah,
I think that's his
family's blade.
And then ultimately, Ryu learns that Jaquio has been reborn to fulfill the destiny of Ashtar and the Dark Sword.
And he meets Robert in that game, too. who's in this movie.
Yeah. And then there's a third game called The Ancient Ship of Doom. We'll let that one go. It's not really important for our purposes.
I will say, though, what's weird about it, in Ninja Gaiden original continuity, I think Ninja Gaiden 3 takes place in between the first two games. I hate it when video games do that. I feel like it happens a little bit in video games, but never in a movie.
No, that's pretty lame.
Maybe the
That's how
Jason Bourne movies would be an exception. The third Jason Bourne movie sort of takes place in the midst of the second movie, but, well.
I need to go watch all those over again because I want to see the final one, but it's been like 10 years since I've seen any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie we watched, Ninja Ryukenden, came out in 91, and it takes place after the defeat of the demon in Ninja Gaiden 2. It has some of the same characters from the games. There's not a lot of characters in this movie, maybe 7 or 8 total. And it loosely follows the plot. We no longer, I believe, have an ex-CIA agent.
Who are you thinking of? Irene?
Irene, yeah. Well, we do have ex-agents. This is not her.
Well, she's very much nerfed in this movie from what she was in the game, even though she was damsel in distress for all 3 games, or dead, or sought dead. She seems a lot diminished from what she was in those.
Well, in this universe, Ryu is living in New York along with Irene Liu. Not with Irene Liu, but alongside, I suppose. And they're running this little...
Huh.
Yeah. I don't think so. Well, they work together. I don't think... If he hasn't held her hand, I don't think they're living together.
Well, there is that dialogue from Sarah at the beginning of the movie when she goes to talk to Robert, and she even says, at this rate, they'll be lucky to even hold hands. So it's almost like they're getting to know each other instead of having all this history, fighting all these demon sorcerers.
No, it's an odd plot, and I don't know if some of that's lost to translation or not. I don't even know who did the subtitles for the version I watched. They almost looked automated. But, well, anyways, whether he's living with her or not, he's in New York with her, and they run this little curio antique shop thing.
Ryu's Japanese shop, isn't that the name of it?
I think so.
Oh, man.
And
it's not what I would have ever expected a ninja to get involved with.
No. And do they even know he's a ninja? We'll get into that. Okay, so the movie starts with Ryu being chased by 2 odd beings. Look like they're wearing business suits of sorts, and they have these, I don't know if they're knives or swords, but some kind of blade pops out of their wrist. Not like Wolverine, it's a single one, but yeah, he pretty quickly takes them out, and he finds an ID card, which I don't know if we're supposed to be able to tell it goes to Friedman Enterprises or not, but we later figure that out.
Ned.
And then the monsters explode, and then they quickly cut to Ryu going to see his girlfriend / coworker / acquaintance, Irene Liu, and she wants him to come out for her birthday, but he says, I'm busy, can't do it. Socially awkward on all sides. Yeah. So it's starting off the movie, I'm thinking, I don't know about this. And I should say, the movie started with a narration. So you have this demon-looking creature on the screen while these words are spoken. Since ancient times, the gods of the dragon and the gods of evil have fought. The gods of evil have the power to destroy humanity in an instant. But that power was sealed by those whose veins hold the blood of the dragon gods. And then we get
like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Then we get the Terminator 1 type soundtrack and a visual vibe similar to the first 5 episodes of the Ninja Turtles season 1. But it's just, I don't know. Like, you talk about the gods of the dragon and the gods of evil. Like, you need more explanation. Like, they're assuming that we've really played these 2 video games quite extensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I did play the games pretty extensively, and I didn't remember any of that plot.
Especially if you never got to the end. You'd have no idea.
That's true.
I remember the second manual, the U.S. manual for the second game. It opened with about 4 or 5 pages recapping the whole plot of the first game. I don't know any other game that did that. It makes me think they did that because how else would people know how the first game ended before they pick up the second story-heavy game?
That's true. Sometimes you just need to go a double dragon route, though, and just have some guy come up and hit your girlfriend in the stomach and walk off, and then you go, you're the hero going to save the girl. Like, do you need more plot than that?
It's an underrated trope. I don't care what anybody says. You can do a lot.
Go ahead. Well, ultimately, that's what this movie becomes.
Right. It just takes forever to get there. And we have two different groups of protagonists that really don't overlap much at all until the final scene. Maybe there's one bit in the middle where their storylines overlap with Robert, who is not CIA, but he is In the second game, he was introduced as United States Special Forces for the Army, or Special Intelligence. But he's got sidekicks in this movie that were not in the games that I recall.
Yeah. And if it sounds like I'm muting a lot, yeah, I am. Allergy season in Tennessee.
I got the dry hacking cough.
Yeah. So visually, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I feel like this movie's trying to walk a fine line between taking place at night and being dark enough where they don't have to animate too much, but they almost get too dark frequently where you can't see what's going on.
Yeah, the games were bright, even though they were often set at night. There was a whole lot of color they worked in. I'm a
And
little
there
bit
are some
let
bright
da-
colors.
Yeah, I'm a little bit let down on the backgrounds of this movie. So even though they all look good, they're just dead backgrounds. When Ryu and Irene are on a ship and they're looking out across the sea, the water doesn't ripple at all. And there are several scenes where there's a big background light, like a street light or something, and it just stays there. And it doesn't seem to affect the lighting on the characters at all when they're in the foreground. So stuff like that is just odd to me. A lot in this movie looks good, but there were just some missed opportunities with the animation style.
Yeah. Now it did go the other extreme. It was the other extreme as well when they're talking in the restaurant and you have the brightest light ever on a TV screen in 360p and it's blinding you even as you're watching your television set.
There are a few moments of that too near the end when the replica demon stone is unveiled. It's pretty bright.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so visually I think we're on the same page. It looks good static, but when it's
Yeah.
moving around, some of the flaws and the cheapness, so to speak, are exposed. I will say they did a very good job animating the human characters and their faces. Very impressed with that.
Yeah, they're good.
So we've established Ryu has no people skills. He kind of likes this girl, but he won't take her out for her birthday. What a heel! What a heel!
Ninja business.
So later, Irene, and this is the restaurant that's blinding. Irene's talking to her friend Sarah, who's a reporter, and Sarah agrees to try to get her boyfriend Robert or Rob Sturgeon to convince Ryu to, I don't know, get his head out of his rear end. I'm not really sure. And then at the same time, Ryu's attending a press conference that Friedman's holding, apparently to announce a cure for cancer.
No side effects.
Well, ultimately, we see that the bad guys in this movie are creating demons using biotechnology. That's a way to say it. So why are they having to announce that they've cured cancer?
For the
What
good
is
publicity.
exactly?
I guess, well, the whole point is to draw Ryu in, isn't it?
I don't know. They don't
I kind of
establish
forget
that.
if Ryu has anything. Does he have anything they need? Because
He picked up an ID card when he fought the first two ninjas, and then they exploded. So did they plant the ID card? Like, was that the plan?
well, in both of the games, Ryu has something the villain wants. And I'm not sure what he has in this movie that.
Well, I think he has the blood of the dragon.
Oh, just that? Okay.
I think so. I think.
All right. That's on brand.
But they announce this press conference, and they don't speak at the press conference. So it's just like, did they cure cancer? Why are they having the press conference? And then what causes his vision of a girl that he sees on his way home from the press conference?
Magic.
Plot holes.
The girl does seem to be telekinetic.
Maybe. Maybe it's him. He's got the blood of the dragon. So at the same time that that's going on, Sarah, the reporter, hears rumors about Dr. Friedman and things occurring at his lab. So, they didn't coordinate this, but ultimately everybody decides to go investigate. So you have Ryu, Robert, Sarah, and their friend Jeff, who I guess works for Robert. He's kind of the muscle of a detective agency. And they realize that Dr. Friedman is creating demons, and they find some really well-animated, creepy-looking remains and babies, maybe? Are they stealing people or making people?
I think they're growing them. Growing them in a laboratory.
Well, see, I think that's unclear, too, because they show this big vat later on of all the mutation stuff. They say they mix it with the human DNA. Well, where's the human DNA? I agree with you. I think they're growing them, but it's not really explained about what's going on here. It does look cool, though. It does look cool.
Ryu's very much against film existing of the lab because he does not want Sarah to publish an article about it.
Because that would be a horrible thing for the world to realize that this scientist is making demon people. That's not the kind of thing, that you don't want your local law enforcement finding out about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think Ryu's worried the police would fail if they tried to stop him? A lot of people would get killed.
Maybe. But I mean, these demons seem to die when they get shot.
Well, the police. He didn't want the police getting killed. He just wanted to go in and do it himself.
I don't know. I mean, you have 100 policemen show up with machine guns. I think you could take this place out pretty quick.
Yeah, 2 guys with guns did pretty well, even though the final boss was immune to bullets, so far as I could tell.
Put him in a cage.
Yeah.
So the next day, the 3 amigos, Robert, Sarah, and Jeff, go and interview this Professor Bucky-wise.
Ugh.
And I can't
That's
recall
his name.
exactly why they went to him, but yeah, quite a name. The 2 villains in this movie, Professor Bucky-wise and Ned Friedman. Like, I don't know what to say about that. Well, Bucky-wise is pretty creepy. You could call him Pennywise if you want. And he lets off a weird vibe where they're pretty sure that he knows more than what he's telling them. But again, I don't recall exactly why they went to visit him, other than I think he, 30 years ago, once knew Ned.
Yeah.
And then
This is the slow part of the movie, too. It just kind of,
yeah, so Irene, well, this part picks up. Irene and Ryu, oh, and we also see he has a weird cat.
Oh, yeah, the kitty cat.
I wouldn't say it's creepy yet, but it is like an odd-looking little cat.
Now, I played enough of the Ninja Gaiden games to know there are no such thing as friendly animals in the Ninja Gaiden universe. They will come after you. They will turn back. They will not let you escape. You must time your sword swipes perfectly. And they will respawn if you retreat just a little bit.
Sounds like you have nightmares about that.
It's rough, man. That snow stage and that leopard and those hawks, eagles, whatever they are. Boy, those birds are just murderous in Ninja Gaiden 1.
All right, so that night, Irene and Ryu are closing shop. Ryu wants to close early, not really sure why. And then the cat walks into the shop and kind of growls a little bit.
I just thought he was about to go animal attack mode, like the game.
Yeah, and is he just a normal cat, or is this possessed? Is it a demon cat? Or is it just typical angry cat? Unanswered. Cat's not seen again. Well, the cat's at the very end, I guess, seen again.
Yeah.
And then immediately
the cat
after...
came back.
Yeah, once the cat gets mean, it kind of runs to the back room, and a bunch of business-suited demons pop back in. And they kind of reminded me of the Chameleon in the old Spider-Man animated series, like their general getup.
Yeah.
And then, but when their face gets knocked off the mask, you see the deformed demon underneath. And Ryu kills most of them, and Irene takes out one with a headshot. Call back to CIA days, I guess.
She's not very comfortable with the gun. Maybe she's just spooked by the bad guys. But it looks like it's the first time she's ever pulled the trigger.
Yeah. And then the police get there, but Ryu and Irene run out the back first. The police are never seen again, so we don't know their thoughts on the situation. And he says, "Don't you have family far away from here?" And she says, "Yes, I have family in Utah." And
Mormon.
I think it was Utah. And then then we see them at the dock scene. So like, is she about to take a boat to Utah?
Well, he's taking the boat, isn't he?
I don't know. Maybe he is. At the time, it was like they're saying goodbye. She's going to go away. I mean, they're talking about her going away.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, please tell me that she's not going to get on a boat and go from New York to Utah. That's not what she walked.
She gets kidnapped after he's already left. That's why I thought he was doing the boat.
But what's the point of the boat? Like, why is he having to get on a boat? The evil lab is in New York City.
Maybe it's on one of the islands.
Well, his friends get there via car. I guess he doesn't drive. He just runs.
Yeah, he's really good at that.
Yeah. Well, anyways, she goes home and she gets kidnapped. And for some reason, Robert, Sarah, and Jeff are going to find her beforehand. I guess they've decided, without telling us, that Pennywise is going to kidnap her as bait for Ryu. And they decide to show us that instead of tell us that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Not Pennywise. You're talking about Friedman, right? That's who they suspect.
I think they do suspect Friedman, but I think they recognize that Pennywise is up to no good also. Or at least hiding something.
Oh, I thought it's supposed to be a reveal when he shows up at the end, but maybe not.
Well, I think it is too, but... Well, I should say they don't trust him. I think that's the better way of putting it. But I don't know.
Sure.
This movie, you can choose your own plot. So we finally get Ryu in ninja clothes, but he doesn't have his top of his mask. I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, he changes his gear too. He's got a lot more armor on.
Yeah. He's prepared to take the fight to Friedman. Meanwhile, Robert and Jeff tie up Sarah so she can't help, and then they go.
That was kind of funny, the way that played out.
Yeah, it was. And then, while they're doing that, Ryu finds the main part of the lab where they actually make the demons. He uses telekinesis help with the little girl, I guess. And ultimately, he blows up the monster making machine, where there was no security, by the way.
Friedman's unhappy about that. He's got Irene on his couch tied up.
And then I guess let me remember who gets there where, or who gets where first.
Yeah, the two plot threads. You got the motorcycle duo of Robert and Jeffrey, and they're just blowing through people with bullets. And you have Ryu sneaking around ninja style, chopping people up.
And I can't remember if they get there yet, but Friedman reveals that he still has the power of the evil gods because he has the bone of a demon that he obtained from the demon's defeat from Ryu, I assume in the second video game.
Boy, I thought it was the first game when he fights the monster at the very end. I wasn't sure about that.
Well, at the end of one of the games that they assumed that we played and beat.
Yeah.
And then we have an interesting scene. You sent me screen caps. I had already recorded it. So the big guy, is it Robert's
Jeff?
right-hand man? Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah.
I guess he was pretending to be a coward the whole movie. I didn't pick up on that. Like, he didn't seem to be very cowardish.
He retired from military, so he just kind of living regular life.
Yeah, and his hands are shaking after killing some guys. And he says,
and he's really happy about that.
Oh, yeah. He's happy to have the shakes. Not a common thing.
He's like Officer Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun movies. It's been far too long since I've killed a man.
Yeah. His quote was, I was a mercenary. I tried to fit in. I tried to pretend to be a coward, become an ordinary little man. And man, I missed it. And I killed you. I killed that guy, and I'm so happy I'm shaking. And then Jeff says, everybody's like that. We like fighting. We like alcohol. And we like women. Some of us even like men. We all work on the parts that cause trouble and somehow get along with the world. Then his response, all right, let's get rid of these guys and go grab a drink. I think my dubbing said beer, but yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess that's the moral of the story. We like fighting. We like alcohol. We like women. Some of us like men. Let's go have a drink.
How about that rom-com? Martial arts, run and gun, rom-com.
And that is by far the best dialogue in the movie. Nothing else comes close. And it doesn't forward the plot. It really doesn't do anything. It's just humorous. And then we have the next plot problem. Ultimately, Ryu and Robert both get to the room where Irene and Friedman are. And suddenly, Friedman is stabbed in the back by Professor Pennywise. Pennywise reveals he was behind the whole plot. And that he had kidnapped Ned's daughter. This is the same girl Ryu has been communicating with mentally. I don't think he's actually seen her yet. But the daughter's name is Catherine, by the way. And he has forced Ned to recreate the evil gods, and then he kills him in front of his daughter.
Yep. Who is not upset at all, at least not visibly upset.
No, there's something going on with her. But Ned Friedman, villain or kidnapped person?
Definitely villain.
He seems thrilled to be doing all the things in this movie. Like, why would his daughter need to have been kidnapped?
Well, the subtitles that I watched even suggested they were on the same wavelength, and the professor was happy to do it, but he mentions he did kidnap the daughter first as maybe insurance that he would do it. It's a very weird explanation.
And the daughter, she never gets to go free? Like, he's done the work.
He doesn't care at all about keeping the daughter captive after he's killed off Friedman.
No, but I mean, why did he care about keeping the daughter? It doesn't make any sense. Like, they never tease that Friedman might not be completely evil.
No, he genuinely seems to enjoy what he's doing.
Yeah. So that just makes very, very, very little sense.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so then Bucky-wise, Pennywise, turns into a large green demon who looks more like a hulked-out Dragon Ball Z villain.
Very Dragon Ball Z, but specifically the movies, not the shows so much, where the anime filler. I am disappointed it wasn't another resurrection of Jakyo. He keeps on talking about fighting your old nemesis, and Ryu's like, I don't know who you are. He just kind of turns into a monster.
Yeah, and the monster also, I should say, giant green Dragon Ball Z villain with a little bit of King Hippo mixed in.
Got them big red lips.
Yeah. And then they have a pretty good fight. They're pretty even, so to speak. Bullets have no effect on them. Irene takes a little damage, helping out Ryu at one point. Ryu does get stabbed in the arm. And then his dragon sword apparently gets energized. I don't really understand the dragon sword and how he charges it and why this wouldn't be charged all the time. But
it's kind of unpredictable. His inner powers connect to the sword somehow.
Yeah, so he uses the sword to tackle and stab and slash the demon off of two different buildings that they fall very long distance and crash hard, not killing Ryu or even breaking his back or legs or arms or neck or internal bleeding, and I don't really understand that.
He got that demon blood, dragon blood, or whatever.
I don't know. But he lives, the demon dies, they all celebrate. Robert says he's going to marry Sarah. I guess we failed to mention, at one point Ryu says he didn't even care about the dragon blood or the dragon sword or being a dragon ninja, but he just wants to keep Irene safe. So he kind of works out of his little shell. So we assume that they may have held hands at the end.
I mean, heck, that's exactly what he said at the end of the second Nintendo game. So now his character progress has reverted.
Yeah. And then we see the cat, and it's starting to sniff that demon bone. Thinks it wants to give it a good chew. Pretend to be a dog. But Catherine, the strange little child, comes and picks it up and possibly gets possessed. And no one notices.
No, I'm not sure if we were supposed to think that as an audience.
Yeah. And what happens to that child? What happens in the next act? Don't know. No sequel to this movie.
Yeah.
So it was, I will say, it was only, an hour long?
45 minutes. It felt
45
longer,
minutes.
though.
Yeah. I can't imagine if this was an hour and a half. Yeah. So I think the lack of runtime is the best thing for this movie.
Well, the ninja action is good. The horror of they get into all that Island of Dr. Moreau business. Those are good little scenes, but the movie needed a lot more of that and a lot less of what they gave us.
Yeah. Well, if they had better dialogue, if they worked on streamlining the plot a little bit, they could have made the boring parts a lot more tolerable. But I will say the movie ended on a better note than it started. But the last 20 minutes definitely redeemed it. So we're going to do Dragon Bones?
Let's see.
Mean cats? We could do clone babies.
We could do the, I almost hate to say it, but it would fit with this movie. Cans of beer or bottles of alcohol for Robert and Jeffrey.
We could do cans of beer, an homage to the dialogue of what the whole movie was really about.
Yeah, it's a bromance buddy cop movie somehow about rediscovering the fire in your belly.
Yeah, shared drinks. How about that?
Yeah, sure. Am I going first or am?
Can if you want.
Well, you go ahead.
You're just gonna take whatever I say and add a can. So I'll give it 2 out of 5 shared drinks. I think the potential was there for 3 or 4. This was never going to be a 5-can movie, but the only thing saving it from 1 can is the fact that it was 30 minutes less than it could have been. 2 out of 5. You're very nice. You're real tempted to go 3. I can tell.
No, I'm not actually. I'm just wondering how low I should go on this. Maybe I guess I need some backstory here because when I was playing through the first Ninja Gaiden, and there's just something I really appreciated about the philosophy of that difficulty. And you mentioned it earlier. Continues are unlimited all the way through the game. You can keep playing it as many times as you want. Maybe not starting on the exact stage you died in, because when you take a continue, I think it sends you back to the beginning of the world. At least the last level is level is really wild.
Yeah, it's set up like a Mario game. You have like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, or acts of a movie, you might say.
Yeah, and I forget a little bit about, aside from the last level, because if you die on the last stage, I
think you kick back to the previous world, right?
Well, the very beginning of the world. And even if you're fighting one of the 3 bosses and you die once, you go back to that, I think. I don't think you continue on that. But again, it's up to you as the player how much more you want to keep going in. And there's just something about that resonated with me of why I love video games like that. That you're not guaranteed to beat it at all, but you stop when you've had enough. And if you want to keep challenging yourself against overwhelming odds, the game will let you. And all I could think of was, wow, this game would make an amazing movie. In fact, I wish it was animated. And I was thinking, I wish this thing was animated in the 80s, back when it would have looked like, just that height of those Japanese anime productions. Just the ability to work the music in and the key moments from the game, and just how cool that would have been. And then, lo and behold, I find out there was a Ninja Gaiden anime, and I said, this is the most amazing thing. This is exactly what I wanted. And then I tried to watch it, and I couldn't even get through it, because I was too bored by it. And how do you take something that could be maybe the coolest animated thing ever, and you turn it into this? I guess you're trying to expand the lore of the games by making it a sequel and a side story. But this has the least interesting plot of any of those Nintendo games. I'd say even the third game was more interesting than this. And man, what a disappointment to me this movie is. It doesn't have to be, but man, I almost want to give it 1 star just because it makes me so mad in the way that I feel like the Super Mario Brothers movie does, the live action one.
Go for it. Do it.
It looks good, but doesn't look as good as it could look. And it has good action, but it doesn't seem to want to focus on the action. They give us a whole side, half the movie, maybe more than half the movie, is Robert's storyline. Ryu feels like a guest character in his own Ninja Gaiden movie.
Well, with the personality they gave him, that might not be a bad thing.
But that's okay. He doesn't have to talk. He just has to jump around and do ninja stuff and give us good music. They didn't carry over any of the good music from the games for this film here, so far as I can tell.
And also, and again, this is probably more budget related, but we didn't get a snow level. We didn't get a woods level. We didn't get a castle level. There was no birds coming down. Like, it doesn't have a lot of the stuff that we really enjoyed in the games.
Should have taken the boat to Utah. We could have had a snow level. Well, it makes me think this came out between the second and third games. Was Tecmo experimenting with the possibility of adding a run and gun campaign to the third game? Because that's what this movie feels like it was setting up. An alternative way to play, you do your traditional Ryu ninja action, or you do a little bit more Contra-inspired run and gun style. Because the third game is fine overall, but it's weird because in Japan, I'll be honest with you, the game is too easy in Japan. So when they imported it to America, they realized it was a lot easier in the previous games, and they made it unfairly difficult to compensate for it. And they took away that continue as much as you want philosophy that I think is essential to a good Ninja Gaiden challenge. And I think they ruined the US version because they did that. And the fact that the original Famicom version was too easy does make me feel like they had something very drastic in mind, not just to add more levels in the Ninja Gaiden style, but to try and change it up a little bit, give gamers variety. And it never happened. And I just don't know. This movie somehow represents what I feel like is the drop-off point for the original Ninja Gaiden continuity that sidelined the franchise until the Xbox 360 or the Xbox days. So yeah, I'll give it a 1. I'll give this thing a 1. And by the way, the Super Nintendo remake is not as good as the NES version because when they tried to update the graphics a little bit, there's some coding problems that just doesn't make it play right. The timing is off and everything else.
Adam, I'm proud of you.
I'm upset by this movie. What can I say? It annoys me.
We've made a step in the right direction today.
Man, like, why'd they do this to me? Why'd they take the fact that it exists? The one thing that I dreamed might exist, and it does, and it's so much worse than it should have been. It's not even what it should have been.
So I gave it 2. You gave it 1. I'm almost feeling like I've been too kind for once, but we'll let it be.
I mean, when it looks good, but then you're like, this is how this whole movie should have been, and they didn't give me that.
All right, well, that's Ninja Gaiden, or Ninja Gaiden, with Ryukenden. All right, well, I think that is a wrap, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I'd go back and make them make this movie right in the 80s. But I can't. Bye-bye.